Welcome to another breath liberation. This week's session is going to be all about how we can use our breath to improve our sleep. So, before we get started, let's just have a quick recap on last week's session. Last week's session was all about humming and how humming can improve nearly, it can improve nearly everything when it comes to breathing. We looked at humming just in general, just with low tones. And then we did an exercise where we looked at humming with tones like using A, E, I, O, and U. And we looked at how, when we're humming, what happens to the body, and the effects that it has when we are humming. So I also set you a little challenge to hum as much as you possibly could. If you found yourself humming quite a lot in the last week, then brilliant. The challenge is working. So this week we're going to look at improving your sleep by looking at how we're breathing. Now, when we're looking at sleep, there are so many different factors. So you can, if you follow all these steps and you change how you're breathing, but you're not looking at all other aspects of your sleep, then it might not have the desired effect. But there are so many things that we can look at when it comes to sleep. But what we're going to do today is we are going to start by looking at the breath. And the breath plays such an important role in getting off to sleep, staying asleep, getting a good night, getting a good sort of quality of sleep. So then we're all refreshed, recharged, we are fully rested. And when the morning comes, then we are ready, energized, and up. And, we can start the day exactly how we intended to. So there's lots of things that can affect your sleep when it comes to breath. The most common will be if you snore. And it's always hard to know if you snore, but if you get an elbow in the night, then that might be an indicator that you do. If you don't have someone to elbow you in the night to let you know if you snore, then you might wake up with a dry mouth. You might have actually woken yourself up snoring. Then these are sort of little indicators that let you know that is a part of disruptive sleep pattern. So you might struggle getting off to sleep. So you might have that sort of monkey mind. You might be just thinking about everything that went on in the day. You might be thinking, "Oh, I can't get to sleep." All those sorts of things that all make it a little bit harder to get off to sleep. So then sort of going a little bit further, you might also experience symptoms of insomnia. And, this is something that, if you've had any experience with insomnia, then this is something that will keep you up. And primarily, the effects are psychological, and you have racing minds and you just really can't switch off. But there's a study that claims that between 35 and 50% of adults worldwide showed symptoms of insomnia. That's a huge amount. That our sleep is being affected in a huge way. So what we can do is, there's a little bit more to changing it with insomnia. But if this is a good way to start addressing just one aspect of something that can get you off to sleep. Then we look at, you might have also experienced sleep apneas. And this is when this quite commonly happens when you're a snorer as well. But there'll be a short period where you stop breathing. And now that sounds scarier than it is, but that's what these apneas are. So you will breathe in, but then there'll be a longer pause than normal, and then then your body kicks back in and carries on breathing. So there are lots of different things that can affect your sleep. So first of all, we're going to look at snoring, because it is the most common. And one of the main causes for snoring is that your mouth is open. Now, we've addressed all of these things during these sessions for breathing in the day. And I will tell you, and I've told you many times over, that shut that mouth and focus on breathing through the nose, because it starts to change how your body reacts, responds, and you're getting the right amount of gases in the right places. And the same applies for when we're asleep. So it's a little bit easier during the day to just shut your mouth, but how can we do that at night? Well, there is a simple solution, and it is taping. There are a few different solutions, but taping is one of them. And what we'll do. So there are a few different ways, but before we get into the taping, there are also you can get things like these. They're Breathe Right strips or Sleep Easy from Boots, but these you can get anywhere. And what they are is they are it looks like a little plaster, but these open up the nasal passage. So you'll find one of these little plasters, and the adhesive on these are really quite good. But what we do is you put this across the bridge of your nose, and what this does is this just expands the entry to your nasal cavity, but it actually gives about 30%. Well, according to the box, it's about 30% more airflow, which is great, because during the night when we're sleeping, if our nose will primarily do all the work, but if there's any congestion, if there's if you've had allergies, if you had a cold, then this will help that and keep that nose as the primary source of breath. So this is a great way, and I mentioned this first because if it's a nice easy way to start introducing breathing through your nose during the night, because the other solution is taping your mouth. And this may sound a little bit extreme, but it is something that is very effective. And I used to be a heavy snorer, and what I did was over months I retrained how I breathed at night. So all I did during this, so this tape, by the way, is a 3M micropore tape. You'll be able to find this. This is quite often what they use. In first aid boxes, because it's quite sticky, but also, if you apply a little bit of water, it comes off really easy. So when I say that, you could just stick your tongue through your lips and it'll come off really easy. So just for the purpose of demonstration, what we do is, you can do this two ways, but the way that I found most effective as a heavy snorer was putting it across horizontally. So that was one way. And another way that I've not tried, but I've seen other people have success with, is just to go across. That's right. That way is a nicer way if you haven't done it before, because it leaves space at the side of the mouth in case because if you were still struggling to breathe through nose, what happens is you will still be able to breathe through the corner of your mouth. So mouth taping, what this actually does is this keeps our mouth closed. So when our mouth is closed, our jaw is in its sort of natural resting position. The tongue is kept in its sort of resting position as well. And what this does is this stops any obstruction down at the back of the mouth. So when we snore, our jaw relaxes and becomes too relaxed. It hangs down. So then the tongue falls out of its resting position, which is on the roof of its mouth. And, depending on where you are, you might be there, you might be there back. And what happens is it starts to cause an obstruction because it's not in that position that causes good airflow. So what this mouth taping does is it keeps everything in the right position. So it means that our way of breathing in through our nose is the easiest possible. So it's important to remember that this works with most people, but I would avoid if you have any serious apneas. Work on other parts of your breathing first. So this can also, there's a few studies that come out that show what happens for some people if you haven't properly looked at your breathing is sometimes mouth puffing can occur. Now, this isn't dangerous. It just means that when your mouth is taped, your body will still be trying to breathe through your mouth. So you end up going, and you'll end up blowing. With your mouth taped, you'll blow and you'll find a space between the tape that means that you're still mouth breathing. And what this is this is all addressing mouth breathing. And there's we're becoming more and more mouth breathers, especially at night. And by the time you reach 40, you're around 6 times more likely to spend 50% of your sleep switching between nasal and oral breathing. Now, this then in turn affects the quality of sleep. And this affects, and when our sleep is affected, then everything in the day is affected. So this is one way that this is a very effective way at stopping snoring. When also doing this, I did used to track my sleep, and I found that in that month of mouth taping, on average, I ended up with about 30% more deep sleep. Now, as quite a light sleeper, this was huge. This meant that I would wake up feeling energized rather than tired and I needed to snooze. So, this is a really effective way of improving your nighttime sleep. So, the other thing that I get asked about quite a lot is people struggle getting off to sleep. Now, there was something I didn't mention last week in the humming session because I wanted to save it for this one. Humming is a great way to get off to sleep because when we hum, we increase our nitric oxide, we trigger the parasympathetic, so we're able to, we're slowing it down, and when we hum, we extend that exhale. So we're really letting the nervous system do what it does to make sure that we are in a rest and digest state. So, and when we're resting, we're able to get off to sleep much, much easier. So spend 5 to 10 minutes humming before you go off to sleep, and you will find that you won't make it to the end of 10 minutes. But there is, if you don't want to disturb anyone else, then you can just change your breath. So what we will do is we would, there's some guided videos on the channel. It's called Coherence Breathing that will definitely put you in this parasympathetic state as well. So, but if you don't want to do that, then you can just count to yourself. And what we'll do is, you'll be led in bed, and you'll just breathe in through your nose for the count of 5. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then breathe out for 5. 4, 3, 2, 1, and keep repeating that. This will slow everything down, and when we slow things down, we will start to make that change, and we will be off to the land of Nod in no time. So that is just a little insight. We could speak for quite a long time about sleep. This is only really touching the tip of the iceberg when it comes to sleep. But these are just a couple of ways that you can use your breath to improve your sleep. So my challenge to you over the next week is do something, whether these strips, taping, helping you get off to sleep. Do one of these things to try and improve your nighttime sleep. Just remember, it is one factor in a lot of things, but it will start to make a difference. So next week's session is all about using our breath to create laser focus. Those times where we need to really focus on something at work, home, hobby, whatever it is, we can use our breath to create laser focus. It's something done by military, first responders, and people that are and pro athletes, so we can as well. As always, if you've enjoyed breathing along with me, there's more guided sessions, more exercises on the BreathSource app. There'll be a link in the comments, so you can download. It's available on iOS and Android, and you can download and create a free account, and you can breathe with me and other incredible instructors from all around the world. So I'll see you next week.